Welcome back to Issues and Interviews with Kieran Michael Lalor. We are joined on the Hudson Power Broker channel by Liz Joy, congressional candidate in the 20th Congressional District of New York. Liz, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy time in everyone's lives, and particularly a candidate for the U.S. Congress. I know it's the 20th District. I know it's north of the 19th District, which I'm familiar with when John Fassel had that seat and Chris Gibson. So you're just north of that. So tell us about the district, and then we'll get into all the stuff about you and your campaign.
Yes, the district encompasses 5 counties. It's all of Albany County, all of Schenectady County, half of Rensselaer, half of Saratoga, half of Montgomery counties. There's roughly 720,000 people in our district. So we're the capital region district.
Right. Okay. All right. That's good. That's very, very helpful. And you're running against an incumbent. He's been there a while. I actually had to Google your opponent, Paul Tonko. I didn't know anything about him. And when you're a member of Congress in New York, especially the majority party now in the House of Representatives, hopefully you can have an impact and change that. But, you know, we have a lot of stars in the New York congressional delegation. And it's a good place to be a star. I knew nothing about Paul Tonko.
Yeah, he flies under the radar.
Yeah, he must just be cashing a check, because I can tell you one thing. There's no Paul Tonko brand. I even read that he had the highest calling of all at one point when he was a New York State Assemblyman before he went to Congress. But I don't know anything about him.
Well, that's because he's only passed 2 bills in 10 years.
Wow.
At a cost of $3 million to us, the taxpayers, plus his full New York pension.
Right. Wow. Good point.
2 bills, 10 years, and both of those bills were only renaming entities that already existed.
Oh, come on.
One was the post office.
You know, that's
probably why he doesn't make, he's not, very well known.
Right. No, you're 100% right. And we call the Congress the do nothing Congress. I think rightly so. And he's the do nothing congressman. And you're the challenger. You're the Republican candidate, right? And you have the conservative line, and you have the
yes. I also have the SAM line.
Right, which is Serve America Movement.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Very cool. Very cool. And that's kind of a reform type party, if I'm not.
Well, it is. It's really one that stands together to fight any kind of corruption in government. It stands for the infrastructure of the state. And it's really sort of more of an accountability party, a transparency party, which I agree with, especially in New York State with one party rule. So I'm one of 8 candidates that are running for Congress throughout the entire state. They endorse, I think, 38 candidates total, the Serve America Movement Party. It's a brand new party. I think it's just 2 years old. So
wow, good for you that you got that line, and it always helps to have as many ballot lines as possible. So Republican, Conservative, and Sam. And tell us about yourself, Liz Joy. How'd you get to the point where you're the Republican candidate for Congress in the 20th District?
Well, I grew up in Glens Falls, so I'm an upstate New Yorker, born and raised. When my husband and I got married, he was active duty, so we were away. We had all of our children in the military. We moved back here in 2003 because really we wanted to come back to New York State to raise our family and be near everybody that was here. It's beautiful. We love it here. And I helped him build his business. He's a healthcare provider. I actually was a stay-at-home mother. I stayed home with our children, helped him build his business. Then I went on to write a book about elections. I'm a Christian, and I was disappointed in the amount of Christians that were not partaking in the voting process. I wrote that before the 2016 elections. I worked very hard for George Amador on his second Senate run, in 2014 when he ran there, and then helped again in 2016. And then really it was really honestly when New York State passed the Reproductive Health Act in January of 2019. I saw what was happening at the state level, as well as Paul Tonko, who was advocating for that, and many of the Democrats at the federal level. That really concerned me. And the reason that it concerned me was because there was now such a devaluing and deconstruction of life that it would only disintegrate from there. And so I was appalled to see that. And I knew that those are very socialist trends. Those are socialist trends. And we had been seeing that really since the Obama administration in 2008 with all of the socialist ideologies that were coming into place and people that were registered at the federal level as representatives who were endorsed by the Socialist Party. So I was highly concerned about that. And then seeing, so then I filed April 9th of 2019 to run for office. And I have been campaigning ever since. And it's no mistake. I think there's no mistake that then a year later, the New York State legislature passed bail reform, which also, lets the criminals out, right? It's also a devaluing of the victims' lives. There's no consequences, right? And along with so many other things. I mean, there's so many issues. There's the healthcare issue. There's the Second Amendment. There was the borders, and then along with this life issue that I just thought I'm going to run. I want my children, my adult children, and my future grandchildren to inherit a state and a country whose constitutional freedoms are strong and intact. And the only way we're going to do that is if as many people get involved to make sure the legacies that are coming behind us have the opportunity to inherit that.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears. And I do think that the pendulum has swung so far, especially with younger people to the left, and they're getting a look. You used to say, well, they're going to see what happens in Venezuela and they'll realize socialism is bad. But you even see that now in the United States. Most of your hard left Democrat-run cities run by, whether they call themselves socialists or not, they are basically people who adhere to those values or lack of values. And those are terrible places to live at this very moment with rioting, but on a day-to-day basis, things are not working well in our big urban centers, and a lot of it is policy driven. Even the COVID virus, if you look at the blue states and the big cities, part of it is density of those cities, but a lot of it is policies and bad decision making on the part of the hard left leaders of those cities. So I'm glad you're taking on that socialist fight, and I like what you're saying about the generation coming on. And I think they're realizing it, younger people, and they're being they're going to be more conservative because their eyes have been opened by what's been going on in the world.
Well, we're experiencing socialism right now in New York State. I mean, the governor has taken over. I mean, he took over healthcare. He took over the small businesses, shut all the businesses down, right? He took over education, and he took over the freedom of religion to be able to worship, and he took over the school system. I mean, those are the things that he took over, absolutely took over them with executive orders, and the Democratic Party handed it to him on a silver platter, letting him have those powers. But we're also seeing that in the House of Representatives with Nancy Pelosi. We're seeing that with Paul Tonko, who I'm running against, who has done nothing during the entire pandemic. He supports taking over the healthcare system. He supports every single thing that Nancy Pelosi does and that Governor Cuomo does. He doesn't even speak out about it. And we need that. We need people who are going to stand up, who are going to speak out, and who are going to fight for these things, because I truly believe this election that we are coming up on in November, whether it's the school board elections, which are coming up soon in the next week, whether it's from the school board or the assembly or the Senate, or Congress, all the way to the White House. So from the school board to the White House, this election season is the difference between socialism or freedom at every level.
Very true. Very true. The stakes are high. And your comment about young people reminds me of President Reagan said, freedom is only one generation away from extinction. We don't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. We have to fight for it. And I'm glad your candidacy is out there fighting for it. Liz Joy, you have an interesting year to run, not just because of that socialism versus freedom dynamic, socialism versus the Constitution dynamic, but you're running as the challenger in the COVID era, the last 3 months, basically. Tell me how that is.
Well, the great thing about the fact that it's my first time running is I've never known anything different. So for me as a candidate, I've never run in any other time. So I have the ability to be as creative as I want to be. I have the ability to really kind of make it what I need to make it. And the truth is, on May 15th, I started holding events. So I am personally not adhering to the executive orders at this point anymore. And I'm holding these events on private land and on, in private places, private property. And so I am, people that want to come can come. Of course, that being said, whenever I am out, I respect whatever that personal business says to do for their instructions. So I will certainly wear a mask out of respect for other people. But I'm holding events. We had a huge Memorial Day party. We had 75 people that registered to come. We had, I think it was maybe 62 that actually showed. We're having another one on June 13th, which is Second Amendment Day, is what we're making it. So celebrating and standing up for our Second Amendment rights. People ask me that question all the time about where I stand on that issue. The truth is I stand for all of our amendments. But I believe that we now more than ever, frankly, when you're letting thousands of criminals out of jail, right? I have the right to protect my life, my loved ones' lives, and so does everybody else. So we're having another event, June 13th. We're inviting, I actually reached out to all of the churches in the 20th Congressional District and made contact with them. And I'm having days also to invite them, all of the pastors, the faith leaders. We're doing that twice in June. And then we're having another big event June 29th or June 27th. So I'm having events and campaigning.
Hey, good for you. Good for you. We can't wait around for Governor Cuomo to say that we can live our lives. I couldn't believe it when
I don't need to. Yeah.
he threw us a bone and said we could have 10 people together for Memorial Day. You still can't go to church, but you can get together with 10 people for.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? It's amazing to me how the virus knows not to go in the big box stores, but it can go in the church. And it's amazing how it won't go into the small businesses, but it goes into Lowe's. It won't go into the Lowe's and the Home Depot, the big box. But for some reason, we can't open our small businesses. It's gotten increasingly ridiculous, and I won't participate in it. So.
And you're the wife of a veteran, and you're also a military mom. Tell me about that. Just being a military mom is one of the toughest jobs in the world. Being a military mom and a military spouse.
Yes. So I am the wife of a veteran. My husband, who served in the United States Army, he was not a combat veteran, so I didn't have to experience having my husband away in combat. He was in healthcare, so he was taking care of our men and women who were in combat and coming back to the stateside, needing, the help and support. So I'm a huge supporter of our military. And we were stationed all over the United States on those bases at large military hospitals. My son is active duty, and he's in the United States Air Force. And I think that I don't actually know what my son does. But he's serving our country. And maybe it's better for me as a mother that I don't know what he's doing. But I am a Blue Star mother, and I am a member here of the Blue Star Mothers Capital Region. And a huge supporter of our Gold Star families and Gold Star sisters.
God bless. God bless. And Liz, we're going to wrap up here in just a minute, but how do people learn more about you, learn about your campaign, follow your campaign, maybe throw a few bucks into the campaign, help you get your message out there?
So they can visit joyforny.com. It's just joyforny.com. There's a lot there on my website. I'm on Facebook, Liz Joy for New York. I'm on Twitter, Liz Joy. I'm on Instagram. I'm always posting. I always put videos out. You can go on to YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well and see any of those things. If they make contact with me, it's joyfornewyork@gmail.com. I actually am answering a lot of those emails myself. Those are, as they come increasingly, it's myself or my daughter who is helping me. She is and which is wonderful, actually. I have to say, to have our young people involved in the trajectory of our nation. Sure. And there's more, like to your point, there's more and more young people who are getting involved. She's 21, and she has really just jumped right in because she feels the same way. She wants to have opportunities to be able to, to pursue life, liberty, and happiness.
Amen. Amen. Well said, Liz Joy. That's a great spot to leave it there. We're on the one side, we have the Liz Joy campaign, Life, Liberty, and Opportunity. On the other side, we have the Do Nothing Congressman Paul Tonko and Socialism and AOC and all that nonsense. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Good luck, Liz Joy. Jeff, definitely check her out on social media and on her website and help her campaign. Thanks for joining us, Liz.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.